Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush. A bit of a weird episode, obviously, as you'll be seeing this after week 2 has started. Unfortunately, got really sick during the week, so couldn't do a live stream. Tried to record it the day before week 2 started. Wasn't feeling well, was coughing the whole day. Feeling much better now. Still sniffling here and there, so I'm sorry if you hear me. Maybe coughing, having to blow my nose, but much better condition than I was the rest of the week. Still wanted to do the episode today so I could give you guys a recap of what's happened during week 1 and do a little checkup on not only the LEC starts and a bit of an overreaction as well as Fnatic's performances at the beginning of the split. Still go over week two's prediction as I had you guys vote as well. So I'll have to update the scores after I've made sure to look up everything for episode 3, which will be week 2 recap this time. Without further ado, let's jump into week 1 of the LEC and what I've called some of the overreactions already that we can have from the first games. Um, a few surprises actually going into this first week for you guys who've actually assisted on the pre-show. Myself and Doctor were actually going over some of the standings and what we thought, which teams were going to be at the top and which teams were going to go at the bottom. It was more or less a reflection of what happened during Spring Split with a few changes here and there. Um, what we're seeing so far is G2 kind of continuing that dominance through, end of Spring Split, going into MSI and obviously Summer Split. A bit of a tough challenge against Astralis, but their next two games against, I believe it was Excel at the on the day 3, and day 2 was against Rogue. So 3-0, perfect start for them. Um, Caps looks really unleashed, and I believe I mentioned this before, but I believe really what fuels Caps is having a live stage, a live audience who's cheering him. I believe he mentioned it as well in a few interviews where the lack of audience of cheering kind of brought him down a little bit, and maybe that's why his performances weren't so great. Um, you know, the year prior, obviously, and as well as beginning of spring split. Um, but right now, he seems to be in a meta that suits him really well with the Ari, which is really his type of champion, and G2 are just smashing it straight away. With that said, two surprises on this first week so far have been Astralis and Excel, both of them starting 2-1. Um, Astralis, first of all, really impressed me. There seems to be, from the start, much more cohesion and game plan when they gain advantages. One of the big problems from the previous Astralis team, in my opinion, was that there were those games where they were able to get some leads, whether it be through laning phase or transitioning into the mid game, but I don't know, they lacked an actual strategy, and they would just obviously go in those losing streak and never be able to convert those games. And the only games that they were actually able to win would be those where they would really get into scrappy fights and be super aggressive the whole entire time, which would then, I guess, just confuse the opponent so much to say, okay, we don't know how to play against these type of strats, but it would only work for so many games, you know. Astralis here comes swinging with much more coordination. Vizicachi doing super well. I thought it was just going to be, you know, really mid to bottom tier. I think he's doing rather well so far. Um, what's his name? Jong Hoon has been a bit hit and miss so far, but seems to be pairing well with Kobe, where it doesn't feel like they're hitting the wall straight away and completely losing lane. And I felt like Bajor as well, playing with much more either confidence or just being more comfortable overall. For me, he was the biggest question mark, obviously, as they were going in front of a live audience. But he seems to be doing well. Maybe live audience is something that works out for him. But Australia's doing well and putting themselves in good position to potentially be a playoffs team. If they continue like this. Um, so I'm very excited and I'm very happy to finally see them being a competitive team and not just being a ninth to 10th place team. Again, this is week one. It's a lot of overreactions, obviously, but I think it's exciting that we get to mix it up a little bit in the LEC, and that we don't always have the sort of 4 to 5 same horses at the head of the race, and the rest is just here to make a region of 10 teams, basically. Um, the other surprise, obviously, being Excel. Excel was doing rather well with the introduction of Mickey, securing a playoffs spot since their inception, I believe, within the LEC. Um, a lot of people have said that it's thanks to their Korean boot camp. Young Buck obviously spoke about him facing a lot of teams within the LCK and LPL and how it's helped them a lot. Um, you know, I don't know how much that impacts their quality of game, but they came out swinging as well. Only losing like Astralis against G2, who really looks like the most dominant team so far, but they're they are playing, I wouldn't say an LPL style, but definitely a much more proactive, aggressive style. Where before, maybe they would just like make one play and then step back, but now they're actually trying to snowball their advantage a bit further, and it makes them for a very not only competitive team, but a much harder team to compete with because you can't just you know expect them to not go forward and you just scale on the side on the meantime while they await the next action. They will actually try to force that new action and try to move forward with their advantages. So it's great to see another team being a bit more proactive, and it's working really well for them. They definitely have that style secured. Now we'll have to see if they're able to be consistent with that style, because that requires a lot of cohesion within the team so that everyone's on the same page, and when the order is to go forward, everyone knows what they have to do there. So yeah, it's something that can take teams by surprise at the beginning of a split, obviously, but um, they'll get to adapt. So how does Excel evolve that style, or does it just keep the way it is, and and people just aren't able to match it? So um, it's indeed very exciting to see both Astralis and Excel bring so much to the table straight away, and fitting themselves at a sort of top of the table, really, when you look at it, all things considered. On the other side, um, two teams that have been really disappointing, and a third one that I'll put in there. One of them is being BDS. I thought BDS would be a bit more competitive going into their first week, they would actually catch um, they would catch a win as they were facing teams like obviously SK, Astralis. I mean, you could make the case for Vitality, obviously, but um, I think against SK was a reasonable expectation for them to win the game. Um, but unfortunately, it just looks like nothing has really changed from their previous roster. Um, I don't know. They're just very disappointing to look at. You'd think with at least what is a more stable top laner and and the support that would sync a bit better than with Xmati rather than Limit, who would just leave him in his home most of the game and let Xmati deal 1v2 the lane, you know. So yeah, we'll have to see if they can pick up themselves within week two. But I was hoping, I don't know, from especially since they also boot camped in Korea, right? And they've worked on the synergies to see who would be part of LEC BDS and LFL BDS, so the academy team. That they would have this part sorted out, but it still feels like there's a lot of work needed for them to get on the rails, let's say, and pop out a first win. Um, Not too sure how they'll be able to do it, but you'll never know. You'll never know. Um, Misfits now. Now that is, I'm not too sure what's happening. I think Misfits, what's happening with them is that the sort of surprise factor that they had last year, with VTO just being an absolute madman, has just combusted. This team looks nothing like it was last split, and they actually changed their weakest element, which was Hirit, with Irrelevant, who is meant to be a decent top laner for them. But I'm not too sure what's happened since. Like the three games that they played on their first week, obviously facing Excel, who super strong from the get go, but even the game against Vitality, which was really poor, by the way, both sides were atrocious. Um, but on the other side, the game against Astralis, who, I mean, they've really been the better team in this first week. One of the better team, at least, with their 2-1 record. Um, Misfits weren't able to get anything going for them. So you know, it's a bit of question marks everywhere. Where what's going on? You know, it's the 1v9 element within VTO isn't there, and now who's left? Are you gonna put the carry on Irrelevant, who just landed on the team and landed in LEC, or are you gonna put it on Neon, who, let's face it, has only really performed properly on Jinx in the last split? That's where he has all his highlights, where he goes completely berserk 1v9. Now that Jinx isn't really in the pool um, of ADCs, and we're looking more at stuff like Senna's, Xayah's, even some Ezreal. Trying to think, what else have we seen this week? Obviously, there's been a bit of mix-ups with some signs and stuff, but if we stay in the marksman. That's really the type of champions we've had. And now, what happens if you're not able to perform on those? It's like, well, VTO carry us. So when it's not working out, you start with a terrible 0-3 record within the first week. Again, there's still a lot of weeks to go, but there's no sign or of good performance within that Misfits roster, unfortunately. So there'll be a lot of work to do for them. We'll see if in week 2 they manage to catch that first win. But so far, um, they look like a downgrade of the previous split. Speaking of which, Rogue, who we've always set as champion of best of ones, right? Now, I'll be fair to them. Their game against us, against Fnatic, technically they should have won it. They should have won it. They played us on the map properly, but one or two bad moves from them, and we were able to bring it back and scale back. And so, at least this was a close game for them. Now, when they went against G2, G2 just absolutely obliterated them. So that wasn't even close. And the win they got against Mad Lions, Mad Lions was winning this game most of the match. I believe it's when it came down to the Elder Dragon that they got it and they flipped it around. But technically, had that not happened, Rogue would be 0-3 so far. Right? So, what's going on? Because for some of you guys who watched the previous episode, we've put Rogue all the way at the top of our expectations because very good in best of ones. They played really well during the first spring split. They went all the way to finals. But you expect them to sort of continue on their success, right? And Rogue, throughout their different iterations, have always been top of their regular season. So to see them like potentially being 0-3, 1-2 at the moment, does raise a few eyebrows, a few question marks. I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back. Obviously, they've faced what I would say are some very good teams from the start: Fnatic, G2, Mad Lions. But now it opens them for some other good teams, but lower half of the bracket. It will be interesting to see when they finally get to face Astralis and Excel, obviously. But and see how they manage against them, because they are, I would say, right now the two other sort of upper bracket teams. But yeah, I think Rogue will be able to get back to a positive record. They have a very good coaching staff to manage obviously some of the situations that they're facing right now. But I'm sure they'll find some solutions, because Rogue is definitely not a bottom of the table team. Maybe they need some adaptation to the meta, but yeah, that was potentially a 0-3 record, 1-2 that got saved on an exceptional play. But yeah, that's pretty much it by the LEC. I'll just mention a very good start from Mad Lions as well. Niski really filling in his role as he did a bit for Fnatic, and fitting well with LUAS. So I'm expecting them to continue winning going forward, and seeing if they can at least improve their record, which was not making playoffs previously, but if they can get at least into that top four upper bracket, this split. Now, moving on to Fnatic. Decent start to the season, really. I would say 2-1 is not a record to be sad at. We faced Rogue, XL, and SK. Um, Obviously, the loss to XL kind of hurt because they're a bit of our UK rivals, right? But XL has been playing really well, so it's not like we were playing against a bottom of the team. They come in swinging, playing really well so far. But let's just take it game by game. First game against Rogue, a bit of a rough early game to start with. Um, we get Wunder put on the Gwen pick, and we also get Razork on his patented Volibear. So a few comfort picks here and there. Oriana for Humanoid, and as it's custom, Humanoid falls to a early gank to Malrank, as this seems to be his biggest nemesis, that Malrank always manages to get a gank off of him. Razork did manage to even the score line with a good catch against I always forget his name, Trimby, who was going toward in the bottom brush, and nice little follow up with his ultimate. Given, actually, I believe he gave the kill um, Upset, who was playing the Draven. So obviously, collecting that gold on his passive super important. And as the game went forward, we start to overextend a bit too much, trying to find fights when there are none really to have, and we just give away some easy kills and losing team fights around big objectives. It kind of looked doomed, not gonna lie, when they kept catching us over and over with the Hextech portals from the Drake Soul, but thankfully, it was them overextending in our bottom jungle where we were able to catch Wunder playing super well on his Gwen. Managed to take the Hex deck near to the Dragon Pit, chases them completely, and manages to grab a kill. Other kill given to Upset, I believe, because he had the last hit on someone who was ticking from the Renata survivability spell. I'm not too sure which one is it, if it's a loyalty program or whatever it's called. Um, but yeah, and then I mean, rather well played from the boys. Um, we really did snowball once we got that small lead. Uh, we took the pressure back. We managed to get the Baron and just end the game afterwards. So, from what looked like a very sort of rubbish into early to mid game, sorry, was well recovered into more of the late game. Wunder gets MVP. Amazing KDA of 7-0 and 6, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. He played very well on his Gwen. He just chilled farm top lane, was getting a lot of gank pressure, managed to evade it without having to use summoner spells. Great demonstration from the top laner. Moving on to the XL game. Now, after what we showed against Rogue and seeing how well XL was playing, I was not necessarily feeling confident going into XL, and rightfully so, because XL completely trashed us over. First of all, we went into a really weird, what do you call it, draft in my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a draft expert, but from how it felt in terms of what we would have been able to um, accomplish, let's say, excuse me. Um, I think that first of all, in the durability patch, going with the LeBlanc doesn't necessarily make sense to me, especially since that opens Nuke Duck's Lissandra, which is one of his really patented champions, on which he performs super well. Patrick on his Callista paired with the Braum. You've got Finn on his GP. Sorry. Um, you're really putting him on comfort picks and things that can really disable an all-in composition. Razork gets sticks in, but really doesn't do the job here because he gets all the kills, and we're not into Xin that's like hyper carry anymore. Now it feels like most junglers build full tank. Even if you look at Viegos right now, the Viegos are gonna go with their Thunderer and then go into Dead Man's Plate and AP MR items like how's it called? I was gonna say Fun of Life, but that's not it. Anyways, sorry, I should have grabbed some water here. But yeah, but all in all, it doesn't go well for us. We lose a very early 2v2 game, not respecting the strength of the Kalista Braum combo. Braum does a lot of damage, especially with his passive. We do try to get a few things going. Razork manages to get a few kills here and there, but again, he's not necessarily the one you want to get kills on because he's just gonna end up building super tanky. So as we're trying to go for objectives and such, we don't get anything, and Excel plays the map super well and just manages to get everything they want, from heralds to duels to you name it. Excel gets it. So yeah, just a very poor showing from us, both in terms of strat execution and what do you call it? And just draft in itself. Nothing was working for us. Poor showing. Excel played admirably well. Patrick just really ran circle around us and was given the opportunity to really be ahead on this. So yeah, a bit of a disappointing showing here. Last game of the week against SK. Now SK so far has played, I'd say, rather correctly. Not a massive threat really, but could take a surprise game or two here. We played a bit dangerous, in my opinion, in the sense that we went for a very late game comp overall, with a surprising kill pick for Wunder, core key pick in the mid lane, and I believe it was Tristana in the bot lane. And so I guess the mission here was don't die early, And Gilius played really well, tried to shut down the kill with an early gank. I think his mistake was not to continue successive ganks on the top lane, which let Wunder scale. And for those who might have watched it, the Monka S pointing at clock 10 out of 16 levels, where kill gets her full, I think it's exalted form, whatever it is, and just becomes an unstoppable threat. We played early, I'd say, to the best of our condition, knowing that we wouldn't get any level advantages or lane pressure, giving away obviously heralds and drakes. Stayed on the map and whenever possible, trying to get those picks, trying to get those team fights. Humanoid had an amazing package at one point in the top side of the SK jungle, followed up by Helisang, who does. You guys should watch it again. A great like charm, sorry, a great knock up onto charm onto the backline, so the backline actually couldn't um, pinched on humanoid and let humanoid deal all his damage. So super well played by by humanoid here. Helisang playing a very good Rakan on this game in particular. Very calm game actually when you look at it. I believe there was only 3 or 4 kills at the 15 to 16 minute point into the game, but yeah, we had to give away a lot of stuff. There was a bit of a, I'd say, risky business because we had to give away so many of those buffs. SK was early into potentially soul point. We had to risk ourselves into a dodgy team fight, which gave, I believe, SK like 2 or 3 kills and start giving them an advantage. So it wasn't looking great so far. We were still, I'd say, within the same gold reach, but it's how we really would play the mid game that would be the most important factor. And once we actually try to sort of bait for a dragon pick after getting the Corki package thanks to humanoid, where I believe we get, is it 1 or 2 kills? We sorry, we bait for the Baron. They try to stumble. We turn it properly. We get a bit of a panic situation because Jesu hits Ezreal ulti onto Razor because like super low health, and we suddenly don't have our jungler to smite, whereas Gilius is still up on their side. I've said does a very good job with Helisang to keep Gilius away and actually eventually kill him. So we managed it properly, but it was still a bit sloppy. In the end, we managed to close it out before 30 minutes, which I think is really good performance overall. Humanoid definitely had an impressive Corki game here, just by his CS. Really, I can't remember exactly, but it's pretty much Flame Horizoning um, Certus on the other side. So that's really what kept us in terms of gold and allowed him to get those big plays that brought us back into the game. So 2-1 start of the season. Um, Positive ratio, we take those. Um, Still not feeling too comfortable with our performances so far. Still, if you've listened to the voice comms, it feels like a lot of people are talking over each other, especially during team fights. So it doesn't feel like they have their shit together right now. And obviously, a lot of things can be improved, but I was hoping that at least in terms of communication, they would have that on lockdown. That seems to be a big issue so far. So we'll have to see how they perform in week 2. Obviously, you guys will have already seen week 2. So when you're seeing this, you're probably saying, "Oh, well, still not better. It's really bad." We'll see. But speaking of week 2, actually, let's do a few predictions for that day. Um, so going over, we actually have Doc and I the same score, despite our some of our different picks. I've taken you guys' vote this time. We have the same picks. I think we're going off obviously recency bias, expecting Astralis to win here as they've looked quite dominant. Same for Excel, Vitality, not so great so far. Same for Misfits, G2, ultra dominant team. And I think Mad versus Fnatic will be an interesting one. Mad is looking super good. I'm hoping with the improvement, Fnatic can bring something else to the table this time. But it could really go either way, depending on who's showing themselves really on that day. SK versus Misfits. I don't know. Misfits doesn't really look good to me so far. So I think SK has the edge. Mad versus Excel. I've put Mad because when you think about it, Mad should have been 3-0 on that first week. So I think they'll have a slight advantage against Excel. Rogue against Astralis. Astralis could potentially take it, but I'm thinking Rogue will have gone over their mistakes and be able to fight Astralis back. Fnatic versus BDS. Fnatic should have it. BDS not looking too hot. Vitality versus G2. Vitality is just going to get Goomba stomped. So yeah, that's my predictions for the week 2. You guys will probably know the results already, so you'll be able to see if I've completely whiffed or not. In any case, you guys put in the same answers, so we'll still be on the same results on both our sides at the end of the week. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this very, very late episode. Sorry for the coughing in between. Next week will be another week without a stream. Unfortunately, I won't be available. What I'll do for you guys is I'll record another episode where I will try to hopefully take some of your what do you call it? Some of your predictions and try to fit them in. If not, then I'll put it on our next episode, or I'll just update the results. But yeah, that's about it. Next episode, hopefully not so much coughing, and a bit more time on some of the analysis of LEC and Fnatic. In any case, thank you for taking the time to watch a post week 2 episode of week 1 recap. I'll see you again on a video version of myself. Until then, take care. See you next week.